Ronak, thanks for actually catching up and having this conversation with me. I wanted to spend some time picking your brains on the entire advent of AI and how AI has now evolved into Gen AI, and the latest thing that we are actually hearing about agentic AI. So let me start with a very open kind of question that how do you see the evolution happening? And do you really see that clients are adopting to this change now, or is it still a thing in the pilot?
I would say, I think with the advent of generative AI as a concept and with ChatGPT kind of growing at that massive scale, we have seen enterprises significantly investing in bringing these use cases to production. So we are seeing very good uptick in the market, specifically around generative AI, specifically in areas like contact center and customer experiences, in themes around doing risk and reporting and compliance activities, where you can do a lot of case management and all of those summarizations work quickly, and also in marketing and IT. I think marketing is also very fascinating. The ability to generate content and then personalize it at scale and speed, and I think that's very powerful. That's what we're seeing in IT, absolutely. From test case generation to code development, we are seeing massive progress being made by the industry. The efficiency play. Again, a lot of the AI right now has been about the efficiency playbook, is what I would say. The growth playbook is starting to happen. I think it's happening on the experience side right now. It will happen in other areas, like the ability to do underwriting better, the ability to launch products faster. You would want to do that. And again, I was just talking to somebody yesterday. They mentioned that they have clients who are not in the financial services, but in other industries, are using in the retail one, are actually building recipes for their products, retail products, based on like almost 1,000 odd parameters of data that they've collected, which is what are their preferences, what is selling, what is not selling, what's the competitor data, and kind of bringing all of that together to create product recipes, and then going live with producing those fast food categories. And I'm like, we could do the same for financial services, right? What do customers want? How do they want it? What are the different parameters based on their demographic, psychographic elements, and bring it together. So I do believe AI has a long way to go from a growth conversation, but yes, I think the efficiency and automation conversation has so much potential. And again, you mentioned the conversation around agents and agentic AI. I think we're just getting started with that. I think the ability for agent to learn a particular process and being able to do it is great, but then its ability to also communicate with other agents and run the entire workflow is even amazing. So I think that is what we are looking forward to. Is okay, you could do certain tasks and you could automate it based on certain rules, but now you're automating it based on the learning capability, but it doesn't stop there. You can also communicate with other agents and learn and kind of change the workflow and process and drive that outcome. The possibilities are endless, because think about it, we may move into a world in financial services where you don't need a lot of front-end applications for the operators or the bank employees. You can do a lot of those with a chat or a voice interface, because you just have to give a command and it'll do it, saying, hey, I want to log a case for so-and-so activity, and I want you to basically create the entire workflow around it, and it will do it, right? Okay, insurance, file a claim, it'll do the end-to-end workflow. So you may not need a lot of these. So this headless experience is coming to financial services, and AI is the one that's going to bring it. That's why we are excited about the path that this is taking, from task-based automation to process automation to intelligent automation to predictive analytics and predictive intelligence to generative AI and now agents. I think there's a lot more to come out here, but seems to be going in the right direction.
But I think just to be kind of giving a reality check, a lot of papers that have been published and actually studies that have been done in terms of surveys, what I've picked up is that at least in the BFSI industry, it's less than 10% where the actual adoption of AI and Gen AI has been done in order to make any material change in the way the processes were running, or in terms of actually the benefits to be gotten. There's still close to 50% who are actually kind of just sitting there as passive observers looking at what is possible. That's the reality that I'm actually seeing. So that's one part. The second part is the BFSI industry is a highly regulated industry. and you are going to actually have the regulators coming and asking you the tough questions when you bring technologies like Gen AI into the mix. I am a strong believer that when we start actually looking at bringing Gen AI into the mainstream execution, not only in the efficiency but also on the revenue side, you need to actually have almost like a compliance by design kind of a framework, that every step of the process that you go through, whether it's actually data gathering, whether it's actually the development of the model or deployment of the model, you need to actually kind of have the regulatory kind of aspects taken care right at the design stage itself, That's the second aspect that I'm picking up. And the third thing that I'm seeing is, which you touched upon, there's been a lot of implementations that we see on the efficiency part, On the revenue side, the bit that gets touched upon is the contacts or the contact center area or the call center area, which you again referred to, but you don't see much being kind of done in terms of either the marketing kind of area or even on the areas where you can actually kind of have the advice part actually generating revenue. So I see there's a contrast in terms of the implementation. I feel that that needs to completely change. But the question is that do you feel that we are actually at the end of that curve where that change is going to happen, or are you going to see still more an efficiency play kind of taking the momentum for the next upcoming months and years?
And again, there are a few nuances to that, right? So one of the things we're hearing from clients is, do I need to buy more technology to get AI in my processes and services? So they are more open to having technology which is like AI, which is embedded as part of their existing technology or existing services that they're buying. If it's part of that, they are more open to using it, versus if they have to do a lot of work and buy new stuff. So that's one that we are seeing. And that creates the folks on the fence, because they did the pilots and they saw that this is great value, and then they're asking, I already have this software suite or these services that is getting delivered. Can't they just enable it out of that? Why do I have to do this new implementation, which is a high capex initiative? And then the OpEx is also expensive because your compute cost is higher, right? You have to pay heavy licenses fees for these softwares which are AI enabled, so the cost goes up. So I think the reason you don't see a lot of adoption or pilot to production is the business case doesn't exist because the current economics don't work. So one of the things we need to now change is the economics, which is how do I make it more efficient, more smaller language models, as we are hearing about, in the context of the area or process that we want to do, which is cheaper to build, cheaper to train, can be embedded as part of the existing platform that I have. I don't have to buy new technology, and quick to adopt are the ones where we see success. So to your question, in terms of where we are and are we at that curve? We are absolutely at that curve, because if you look at it, right, we are talking at Money 2020, and right again the amount of innovation that is happening out here, that is in terms of showcase, it's amazing, because people are building this for very specific areas, for very specific processes, and saying, okay, you want to automate a lot of your merchant onboarding experience. Let us help you, and we have an AI tool around it. And that is where this small language model or context-aware model will become very important. And that's where the agents conversation that we were having. So now you can have 4 or 5 agents that can manage the entire onboarding process. You will have. So absolutely, yes, we are at that curve. The only challenge to that curve are, I would say, 3 major challenges. One is the cost curve. So cost curve needs to go down for the adoption curve to go up. The second is the clarity in regulations and regulators as a whole. So I think if that goes better, so you will have the adoption go up. And the third is the overall change management in the industry, because we do see people are still scared about AI coming in and taking over jobs. So we need to basically continuously involve the employees and others that who don't want to use the technology because they think this is something which will eliminate eventually them. So I think how do you work with them, how do you kind of educate them, and how do you get them in part of the process is going to be important. So there's a lot more battle beyond the technology piece is also what we are seeing here.
So I think great points that you actually mentioned, the 3 points that you covered, and I just wanted to give my perspective on all 3. On the cost part, what TechM is actually doing is with a lot of these LLMs and actually small actually kind of LLMs also actually kind of coming in place, we have created a kind of a maker's lab, which is an innovation center where we have got different kind of models which are in play.
Yeah.
And before the client decides that they want to kind of go one way, we kind of do that pilot to kind of suggest which is the right model for you to kind of implement this particular use case, because that's how you will actually kind of control the cost intake that will actually be there, whether it's both on the capex or the opex part, you know. So that's what we are trying to help the clients in terms of making sure that they pick up the right solution. It's going to be effective, and also in that respect prioritize what needs to be taken on board first, you know. So that's the bit on that. On the regulatory part, it's interesting that I was hearing an interview from the French President Macron, which he did recently, and he was saying that the regulations have actually kind of been so stiff on AI and Gen AI, and he feels that actually if this continues for the next couple of years, the ability that actually this technology can help is going to be kind of killed.
Yes.
And that's actually a positive signal that I'm seeing, that if the government bodies have started to kind of realize that, possibly they will actually kind of bring in the agility that is required in the regulatory aspect, you know. So that's promising that I see. On the third part that you actually touched upon, the change management and adoption has always been an issue on this particular topic, and I think the way that we are helping our clients is by making sure that we do enough to educate the managers and that level that adoption of this technology is the right way to do it.
Exactly.
And bringing in the part that it's helping you to kind of get the information together to make informed decisions, but the decision is actually left up to you all to kind of do. And secondly, kind of bringing that aspect about what are the other facets that get unlocked because of actually the time that is being spent by technology to give you this, rather than actually the individual spending the time. How can you actually use that time in terms of kind of bringing up certain other services, other kind of models out?
Yeah.
And I definitely like to use that analogy that actually we have seen these various evolutions that have actually kind of happened in the industrial revolution, and I think this is just one part of that, and I think it's a timing thing that it will actually overcome, and we'll see this behind us. That's the positive note at which I want to kind of thank you for this fascinating conversation. I'm pretty sure this is not the first and the last. We'll be having a lot of these conversations on this particular topic because this is evolving. And as always, thank you, Ronak, for having this particular conversation, and very enlightening, you know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.